So what's happening?
Hey man, first thing that we got to say is we've been fans for a long time, and it's really a pleasure to speak to you.
Oh man, well thank you so much. I appreciate the support that you guys are part of a little niche, a little cult following that record has that is very special. So I appreciate the support, buddy.
I'll tell you what, that album, I mean, it really should be a classic. I mean, you know, the quality of the songs and the music. I mean, it's superior to probably 80% of the stuff that came out at that time.
Well, unfortunately, that Cold Sweat record fell into the woulda, coulda, shoulda file. There were such a glut of bands at the end of that era, and we came out just a little bit too late, right when the grunge thing was starting to kick off. It was just, if that record would have came out maybe 3-4 years sooner, it would have been a whole different ballgame.
Agreed.
Yeah.
There were so many at that era. I mean, what it really seemed like. I know we talk about it all the time because we love the music, and there's, the stuff in the 80s. It just seemed like it was getting better and better and better. And by the time 90, 91, 92 hit, it was killer. And for it to crash like that, it was just a bad time. It was a bad, chain of events.
Well, you have the record companies to thank for that, my friend. That and the internet. A lot of things started coinciding at the same time that caused that.
Right. Agreed. And to, it's great to see that the people are still listening to it, though. I mean, it's what's nice about that, that genre of music is the fans are so hardcore and dedicated. I mean, we're a ride or die. Let's put it that way.
Right. Well, there is a very loyal fan base that's still out there. That's evident with the festivals around the country and the Monsters of Rock cruises and so on and so forth. So
right.
There is definitely a fan base out there.
Hey, as far as you, I mean, we think you're a great vocalist. I mean, I've thought that since the beginning. It's hearing that Cold Sweat and that album is a regular in my car. That's for sure.
Oh, buddy, that's cool.
How did you get started? I mean, what was what got you into the game? What made you want to be a musician?
A rock singer. It's kind of an odd story, honestly. I was a jock all through junior high and high school. I was very athletic. I played the rec league football and all through junior high. And
right.
And I was the kind of guy that was friends with everybody. So I had friends that were musicians, friends that were preps, friends that were stoners. My friends ran the gambit. And one of my buddies had a little rock band that he was doing, a little garage band. And this is, my first year of high school. And I go over to his place one weekend and come to find out, little did I know I had the ability to sing. They were doing "You Really Got Me" by Van Halen, and something about that record really hit it for me as a guy and as a kid first getting into music. And music has always been a big part of my life, but that one really made me that was like rock star shit to me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, the guys were playing it, and the guy was singing it wrong, and I was like, dude, you're doing it wrong. And he goes, will you give it a shot? And I did. They fired him and hired me, and I went home, and I'm like, hey, I'm singing in a rock band. And come to find out, my father had some vocal and musical lineage in his family and stuff, so it kind of came natural to me, but I didn't even realize that it was there. So I stumbled upon it.
That's cool. I mean, when you got the talent, it's nice that you that you had the chance to do that. There's so many people that have great talent, and they just they don't do anything with it.
Well, that's absolutely correct. And I was lucky that I had really supportive parents. that supported me in this whole, crazy musical adventure that I went on with my life, and one of my parents' proudest moments is when, Cold Sweat went out on tour and the tour bus came and picked me up at the front door of my mom and dad's house. You know what I'm saying? So that was like a big rock star moment for my mom and dad, and a very proud moment. So I'm glad I was able to give that to my father before he passed away. Nice.
Yeah, that's a great gift too. I mean, that when you guys did that album, how did that come about? How did you get into Cold Sweat? I know Mark Ferrari formed it, after Keel, and how did that band get started? With you involved with it.
Well, basically, what was going on is I had toiled through the southeastern bar circuit for about almost 7-8 years with a regional band called Gibraltar, a band that I had kind of put together all through my high school years, and that was my baby. But we were playing from like Pennsylvania to Florida, and we happened to be doing a stint down in Florida, and I ended up running into an ex-best friend of Oni Logan, who was the original singer for Ferrari's project that helped, that got them that record deal with MCA. And, we were playing, we were doing our set, and afterwards, Eddie Law comes up to me, and he's like, hey, man, I'm friends with this guy. He used to sing in this band with MCA, managed by Wendy Dio, and you're perfect for it. They're looking for a singer. He's not with them anymore. And he gives me Mark Ferrari's phone number. Now, I had already, been playing the bar circuit for several years, so whenever some drunk dude comes up to you and shoots you a line of shit like that,
right.
You take it with a grain of salt.
Right.
I remember taking the phone number and like shoving it in my back pocket of my jeans that I was wearing that night on stage or whatever. And a couple days later, when the band was on the road and we were doing our laundry, I'm cleaning out my pockets and I come across this phone number and it says Mark Ferrari. I remember then I remember the conversation and so on, and then I was like, wow, I'm gonna call.
Right.
So I called him and find out it's fucking Mark Ferrari, and I'm like, holy fucking shit. And it's the guy's story. I mean, this is the fucking truth. And I'm like, holy shit. And he's like, well, yeah, look, we've been looking for a singer for the past 6 months. And it's been all over, like, Z-Rock and the radio stations and so on. And, the label's flown out a bunch of people and everything, and we just can't afford anything anymore. He goes, I tell you what, he goes, if you fly yourself out, he goes, I'll let you crash at my place, and I'll let you audition for the band. And I'm like, done. I'm like, okay, done. So I get on the plane. I've never been on an airplane before,
Right.
And I fly out to L.A., and I fly out on Monday, I audition on Wednesday, and I'm signing a record deal on Friday. Then I'm calling my mom and dad going, I need to ship my clothes out here because we went immediately into pre-production and immediately into doing the record. So I went back for Christmas, but that was about it.
That's an awesome story, man. That is an awesome story. And to be able to...
That's how it all went down, man. Very, eerily similar to, but... different from the story of Rockstar, that movie with, Wahlberg and everything. It was, that whole thing with Ripper Owens and everything. It was a similar thing, even though it wasn't joining a band of that magnitude. But still, for me, I was a kid from North Carolina that's been playing the bar circuit. You know what I mean? I mean, for me to get a chance to fly out to L.A., and join a signed band that's managed by Wendy Dio, and to go out on the road touring with Ronnie James Dio. I mean, come on, man. Fucking
right.
Pinch me. So.
It doesn't get any better than that.
It was good times, man. Good times.
With that album, when you went in...
Any of the songs on there? Did you have any writing on the Cold Sweat album? Yeah, I did. I had a long way down was something that I played a large role on. I also had some lyrical input on what's another one. Fuck, it was either Fistful of Money or one of the other ones, man. I had another, like, writing credit, but for the most part, all credit goes to Mark. He really, he really had some well-crafted songs, and he put together a really, really good band. And that ended up being his demise also in a lot of ways.
That's a great album. I think I like every song. There's not one bad song on that CD. Every one of them.
That was one of the things that, I remember it used to have a sticker on the front of the LP that said all killer, no filler. And it was a strong record. I'm not fond of Jump the Gun, but everything else is pretty solid in my eyes.
Like every song.
I totally agree. I mean, yeah, all killer and no fillers is definitely a label I would put on that. There's no doubt.
It was a strong record, and we did it at Sound City on that infamous Neve console, which adds even more mystique to it. So.
Right, that's cool. That's a great story, man. The whole way through. Now, how was the band received when you guys went on tour? Did you guys get a pretty good response? I mean, being a new band, kind of a new band.
Well, I mean, I don't want to blow my horn or blow our horn, but we were just fucking killer live. We were just insanely fucking good. And I mean that in the best, modest way possible. But
right.
And the reason is both the drummer and the bass player for a year and a half or more before I even joined the band, they lived in the same apartment complex, and they were both music geeks. So their idea of a good time on a Saturday night was sitting at home with a 4-track and redoing Beatles or Kiss songs on a 4-track, doing the harmonies and the guitar. I mean, they were like music geeks.
Right.
So their background vocals, they were so fucking tight with their background vocals. When I came into the picture, they viewed me as like a kid from another planet, because, I came from a background of, I was singing 3 hours a night, 3 nights a week,
right,
4 nights a week sometimes, doing the cover circuit. So I was doing metal 3 hours a night. Right. And they were like, they were auditioning guys, these LA puffs that, they're 15 minutes in a cloud of dust. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm just getting the fucking bong resin out of my throat in fucking 10 minutes. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Exactly.
It's like, once I got with those guys, our background vocals were just insanely strong. And you add it to just like, I mean, you see any of the live footage that's out there, I mean, the band was just fucking everywhere on stage.
Right.
And it was an impressive, and I played with a lot of people, man, and that Cold Sweat is hands down the most talented band individually and collectively I've ever been in. And I've played with some motherfuckers.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you talk about the background vocals and everything. There's not that many bands that could really nail that live.
Oh, dude, and we those boys just nailed it to the fucking wall. I mean, they nailed it so good. You had bands out there that were doing, samples and shit. And
right.
And we were out there like doing 3-part harmonies that were just spot fucking on. Shitty monitors and all. I mean, some guys musically have just got that ear. You know what I'm saying? Once they have it internally, you know what I mean? They know what they're supposed to sound like internally. They're there.
Right.
And as long as the other guy has that talent as well, and the other, it's like, of course monitors help.
Definitely, but
are
if
you in contact with any of these guys anymore, Roy?
So what? Excuse me.
Do you talk to any of the guys from the band anymore, like Mark or?
I'm buddies with Eric, and I'm friends with Chris. And Anthony is a bit of a recluse. And I'm still tight with Mark. But man, the whole thing ended ugly, and we had a couple of opportunities to pull it back together, and it just exploded and just made it worse. So, I mean, a couple of years back, we had contracts in front of us to do a Monsters of Rock cruise reunion, and Mark and Chris couldn't get along. So,
yeah, that's I'm sure that had a lot to do with you guys hitting in that era too at that time frame, and having that huge of a band, and how good that band was, and then being frustrated with the music scene and, like you said, the labels and everything at that time.
Well, there was also, internally, there was, and here's your scoop. I mean, anybody that's followed or knows anything about the band. I mean, there were internal problems with the band. Mark and the rest of the guys. I was just kind of in the middle, because I was still just like a kid from North Carolina. I'm like, look, goddamn shit, fuck, I'm here in goddamn LA on a tour bus. You know what I mean?
Right.
There were Mark was one of those guys that would preach that it's a band, but Mark was always pushing Mark. And I remember, and I was naive to the business, and I remember there would be times that we would roll into town, and we were on tour with Dio. We're doing a theater and arena tour with Dio and Love Hate or Malmsteen or whatever, and
right.
The tour manager would call the local radio station and be like, hey, this is Billy Morgan, tour manager. If they were recording Arts Cold Sweat, the boys are in town at the Civic Center. Would you like for me to cut some promos? Or, we'd love to come down and visit. Go, oh, no, that's cool. Mark already called this morning. And the tour manager would go, what, huh?
Right.
And that would cause problems, because that would be stepping on the tour manager's dick and making the tour manager look like a fucking idiot. You know what I mean? So there were instances like that, and just internal tensions that made the whole thing,
right.
Yeah.
It's a shame to hear that happen too, to that band, and that happened with a lot of bands too. There was always,
Well, there was legal stuff as well. I mean, we got sued over the name of the band. That's why we lost the deal. There was some bar band, lounge band out of fucking upstate New York that had a smart fucking lawyer that, was sending MCA cease and desist letters. Because here's what happened. Mark wanted to start it as Ferrari, and of course Ferrari said no. Okay?
Right.
So we went through a long period of time where we were in pre-production. We were still trying to come up with a fucking name, and we were doing this and doing that, and we were trying to come up with a name, and we finally come up with like a Crime Shame. And the MCA art department come up with a great logo with a C and an F, and we really liked it. It was very White Snake-like, we thought it was really cool.
Right.
And come to find out that we couldn't use Crime Shame. And by this time, there was another interim name that we had. I mean, you got to understand, this thing was like trying to come up with a name while you're fucking in the studio. I mean, it was fucking nuts, man.
Right, that's a lot. That's a lot to do.
And we finally come up, but we liked the CS logo, so we decided that we needed to come up with a name that had a C and an S. So we thought of everything that had a C and an S. I mean, right down to cum shot. It was like anything to call one thing, all this fucking thing. What the fuck? So we finally, the guys were Thin Lizzy fans, and they went with Cold Sweat. And by that time, MCA was sick with it. We were sick with it. We were on a timetable to get the fucking product out. If not, we were going to miss this fucking tour that Wendy had. You know what I mean? There was just so much fucking shit, man.
Right.
And That's why we went with Cold Sweat. And MCA didn't even do a trademark search. They didn't do fucking shit. They were by that time they were even like, you know what, fuck it, just fucking put the goddamn fucking thing out there, you know.
Right.
And finally, come to find out, there was a cease and desist letter thrown around to MCA, and MCA was like, fuck you, we're the corporate giant, you're like a little gnat.
Right.
And we went ahead and you know, they put the thing out, and we were out on the road with Dio and in Germany and London and Mexico, and we're playing all these places, and they won't put out a video, they won't give us money for a video, Wendy's bitching at them, why won't you do a video, you know.
Right.
Well, they've got fucking legal shit going on that they're not telling us about.
Oh,
So
man.
when we push this and we take part of our publishing and our merchandising to put out a video using Ronnie's stage set, on tour in San Antonio with them, and we put out a video and we get it pushed to MTV, and by the time that we get it pushed to MTV and get it playing and get it going, MCA decides to drop it because the lawsuit by that time was in full swing.
Oh, man. Boy, talking about some bad circumstances. I mean, that's insane. I mean, the pressure that you guys had to be under, I mean, I couldn't even imagine that. Trying to record and come up with a name and try to do all that, you know, even doing PR for yourself, too. That's a lot of work.
I mean, there was just a lot of things that were going on in the background that, you know, nobody knew about except the band and the management and all that stuff. You know, and for me, I mean, once again, you can imagine myself, I'm like a kid from North Carolina. I'm like 23 years old. I'm just like, holy fucking shit, man. You know, I think this is like the norm, you know, out in L.A., you know.
Right.
So.
Right. Now, after the you know, the Cold Sweat experience and everything, and you know, you definitely made a name for yourself there. I mean, what did you do after that? What was the game plan after, you know, the band and all the infighting and everything just fell apart?
Well, man, you know, at the end there, L.A. was fucked. I mean, L.A. was just fucked.
Right.
You know, it was really hard for somebody like me that's used to being myself and myself only to be in such a transparent town that, you know, it's the flavor of the month and the shade of the day. And,
right.
And, you know, I watched it go from the, you know, the Guns N' Roses, you know, Hollywood look to fucking, you know, grunge in like a matter of fucking a month on the Sunset Strip. You know what I mean? You start realizing that LA is a city with no identity. It's just a trend follower. It's really an odd beast. So, you know, I floundered around in LA for a little bit, did a couple of projects. It was really a hard nut to crack. Ended up floating to Atlanta. Lived in Atlanta for several years. Got involved in the nightclub industry, working in that biz. Still dabbled in music, but didn't seriously get back into it probably till around 2001 when I put it together when I moved back to North Carolina after my father passed away. And you know, I'm proud of this because, you know, what I put together here in my hometown after, you know, 10 years of big cities and world travels, you know, I put the fit together, and you know, we got to tour Japan in 2008, dude. You know, I mean, we got a digital distribution deal through EMG Universal, even though the label ended up folding. You know, it was, you know, we made some major accomplishments, you know, right here, and it was a band that I did for therapy, you know, to be able to write and process the passing of my father and just kind of keep music in my life. And, you know, it's a labor of love. It's something that I do. So, you know, I'm always thankful for the ties to Cold Sweat. I still love to sing and I still love to create, and it's just a part of me, and it's what I do, you know. So I'm thankful for what I got to experience with Cold Sweat. It was a quick fleeting moment, but you know, it was literally, you know, to coin a phrase from a famous old pro wrestler from the South, Dusty Rhodes. You know, you're riding on the tip of the lightning bolt, Daddy. You know, I jumped into from singing in a bar band in North Carolina to a very high level. You know, and I held my own. You know what I mean? And I put out a phenomenal record that has stood the test of time, and I still get to do interviews and meet fellows like you guys, and I try and keep it in perspective. I don't want to be the bitter old guy that goes, well, I should have been goddamn Direct Bon Jovi. Well, yeah, I should have, because I'm a better singer, and
agreed.
Whatever, but you know what I'm saying. You know, I just try and keep it in perspective. Hey.
How about?
You are a good singer, then.
I agree.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
How about some of the stuff that's going on with the Fifth? I mean, listening to this stuff, and I think it's some killer material you got there, man. It's got the older style influences, but it also got a good modern touch to it.
Yeah, I mean, I really tried to walk a fine line with the Fifth. You know, you can't run from your influences, nor should you. So, there's a lot of stuff in the Fifth that has the elements of the late 80s, early 90s. The door's pretty wide open with the Fifth. And the newer material that we're working on now from... if you can tell from our latest video, single No Going Home, there's a lot of different influences in our musical palette, so to speak.
That's a great song too, No Going Home.
Yeah, man, I really dig it. It's got a very 70s Sabbath type vibe to me.
Right.
It's soulful, and yet still dark and kind of scary the way I like it,
Right.
So I'm the dark child, man. I like that stuff I like that stuff kind of dark and scary and mysterious, man, because rock and roll is supposed to churn up those feelings, that we kind of try and keep suppressed in a lot of ways.
Exactly, it's a release.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what about some of the new material? When do you guys plan on? Is there going to be an album coming out with it? Is it something you guys are planning?
We are working on new material right now. I'm telling you, man, as much as I love this band, we're like fucking Def Leppard. It's like 10 years between each release, it seems like. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
right.
It's taken us a long time to get the right pieces together, to get the right players together. I've been with my guitar player Jim for over 10 years now, but man, it's like we've had issues with drummers. It's really hard because a lot of times you'll move 3 steps forward, and then somebody will push you, 2 steps back.
Right.
And it's the music business and the rock and roll business is a lot like any other business. You're only as good as your talent pool that you have to choose from, and sometimes it's difficult to get people that have the right vision, that have the right dedication, and you just kind of deal the cards that you're given and make the best of it. But
right.
As I said earlier, I'm a singer, I'm a musician, I'm an artist, so I'm going to do this even though it fucking makes me pull my goddamn hair out, a lot of times.
Right. I did notice on the new stuff, I mean, you're really diverse as a vocalist too. I mean, with the Cold Sweat, you were, you had like the higher range, and you did a lot of that stuff. And on this newer stuff, you have a mix of that, but you also have like that really, it's a good like a dark sound, like you were saying. It's really cool.
Well, thanks, man. There has been studies that have said that the male voice doesn't fully mature until 50 years old.
Oh, that's cool.
That goes the same for like a male vocal cord. So, You notice how almost Steven Tyler is almost singing better than he was when he was all out of it in the 70s and shit?
Right, exactly.
It's almost the same type of thing. But I will say this, I've always kind of prided myself on being like a singer's singer. I've always been somebody, I guess it comes from my sports background and my competitive nature.
Right.
And my fiery disposition and personality. If I'm going to do something, I want to be really good at it. And I just always took singing really seriously. So, I'm not saying I was an altar boy. I did more than my share of partying and whoring around.
Right.
But I didn't abuse myself as much as I could have. And dude, look, here's some personal info. I was a strip club DJ for almost 20 fucking years. Okay, so I've been, between rock bands and strip clubs, I have been swimming in drugs and alcohol for the majority of my adult life. And I'm not saying I didn't party, but I never let it, you know what I mean? I never had to get a room. I never got pulled over. I never got a DUI. I never knocked up a stripper.
Right.
You know what I mean? I always, kept my fucking shit together. So,
right.
When you're swimming in those kind of waters and you're able to hold it together, that goddamn, give me a goddamn ribbon or something.
That's a gold medal, my friend. That definitely is. That definitely is. And to keep your voice intact like that. I mean, there's so many guys that, they were good for a while, and then all of a sudden, they let everything get to them, and it's just like a crash. But it's definitely not like that with you.
Well, man, I'm very thankful, man. I've got good aging genes. Like I said, my father came from a musical background where, like, his brothers and stuff were, like, gospel singers and shit like that. They had, like, a gospel bluegrass quartet. You know what I mean? I mean, I guess it's in my DNA, and combine it with the fact that, it's not like I'm Jack LaLanne and shit, but, I've always taken care of myself. And,
right.
And didn't fuck myself up, so...
So you guys do a lot of I see doing a lot of shows around around your area in North Carolina, a lot of free shows and stuff. That's pretty cool. I mean, for the fans.
Yeah, man. There's it's really tough out here for the rock bands nowadays, man. I'm here to tell you. I mean,
right.
You got a lot of great, super talented young bands out there, but you've got. You got two generations of kids right now, at least a generation and a half, that they don't give a fucking shit about it like we do. They just fucking care. And look, man, I live in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I'm surrounded by young military guys in their fucking, early 20s. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, when I was growing up in Fayetteville in my old Gibraltar days, Fayetteville was a rock and roll town. There was like 5 or 6 bars that there were bands always playing, and the guys were drinking and partying and fucking having a great time and chasing whores. It was the 80s.
Right.
Right. And now, there's the internet and social media and all this shit, man. They just don't love the music. They don't feel the need to go out and actually interact with people in the clubs. So they don't feel that need to go out and go see a band play.
Right.
Because who cares? That's a downloadable piece of, data on their phone.
Right.
They don't have that attraction that you and I had to it, where you couldn't wait for it to come out. And when it came out, you opened it up and you wanted to look at the pictures, you wanted to read the fucking lyrics. You know what I mean? They don't have the emotional connection to music that we did.
Right. You know what's funny? What's funny on this, Roy, is you saying that right there. I think pretty much every interview that we talk to guys like you in the genre, it's the same thing. I mean, everybody agrees on that. We want albums, we want CDs, we want to look at the lyrics, we want to experience it. It's a piece of art. It is.
Well, and that comes from the short-sightedness of the labels, and that comes with our own, need and greed for this instant technology fix that we seem to have now.
Right.
And that all started when the internet started coming and everything. You know what I mean? It seems like there's been like a major trade-off between things that are important to us now.
Right.
As humans.
Right.
There's a less connection to art and more of a connection to our phones. And I'm not saying that there's people that don't still get into art. My kids are a perfect example of it. I mean, they're 14 and they're 16, and they're the cool, artsy fucking kids that are in drama and play instruments and,
right.
skateboard and shit like that. You know what I mean? They're still out there, but
right.
there's not as many of them.
You're right.
And we're not growing them. We're not cultivating them, just like we didn't cultivate rock stars.
You're right.
So.
Well, you couldn't have put that any better, man. Exactly right. Exact. I mean, you nailed it. Yeah, Nate.
Thanks, guys.
And really, it's like that with athletes too. I mean, you don't see. I know when we were growing up, we were outside all the time. We were playing football on the street, baseball, everything all the time. I don't see any kids in the neighborhood ever.
Well, it's the video games. It's that. I mean, I'm not saying my son doesn't play video games, but my son also skateboards, and they're with a breakdancing group, and he plays guitar. You know what I mean? My kid's well rounded.
Right. Right.
But for the most part, fuck no, man. Around here, man, we rode our bikes from sun up to sundown, and in between played baseball and football and all that shit. Yeah,
right,
man.
Right.
It's the same. Well, we don't have the same. I don't want to say values because then you start getting into hokey fucking political catchphrases and shit like that. I don't want to say family values. I just think that we put different values on what's important in life. Art, phones. You know what I mean?
Right.
Time with our friends or time on social media. There are things that have been altered and changed as the years have gone by, and it's shallowed us out, man. And luckily, how old are you guys?
I'm 47.
Right on. Okay, I turned 50 this month, and you, the other on the phone. I don't know who is who, but
I'm John, and Brian's is on the other one.
And I just know that. So you guys are, so we're basically in the same generation. Dude, look, listen to how lucky we are.
Right.
We remember 8 tracks.
Right.
We remember cassettes.
Yep.
We remember CDs. We remember vinyl. We remember all these technology upgrades. And by the time that we die, dude, there's going to be some more technology advances before we kick the bucket that we're going to be like, holy fucking shit. We're going to look back. We're a very fortunate generation.
Right.
The things that we've seen from our music, our cultural impact, and the technology advances that have happened in our age demographic is, when they put man in a time capsule, it's going to be one of the most innovative periods of our age, I think, man. Seriously.
That's true. That is true. And that's the generation really where the best musicians come out of too. I mean, you look at the guys from the 70s and the guys from the 60s spawned the guys from the 70s and the guys from the 70s, the 80s. And it really doesn't seem like the guys from the 80s, the guys from the 90s took anything from the guys from the 80s. Maybe some of them did, but
I just, that whole thing, that's a whole other interview that you guys will have to do with me. I got to start making me some dinner here, but
no problem.
I think that once again, to kind of direct my ire to the lack of vision of the music industry back in the day, I think a lot of fucking evil guys put all their eggs in that grunge basket, and it only lasted about 4 fucking years.
Right.
If you look back, the whole heyday lasted, what, 4 to 6 years? And how many bands came out of it?
Right.
2?
Right.
Really?
That's true.
So, and you know, you're not gonna find the iconic songs. You're not gonna find it. You're not gonna fucking find it. And I'm not a huge Warrant fan, but just case in point, years from now, people are going to be singing Cherry Pie. They're not going to be singing Rape Me by Nirvana.
Right.
It's unless we keep a really bad downward spiral.
That's it.
I don't see that, likelihood. So,
Right.
I mean, call me fucking crazy.
That's oh man, that's great.
Have we got enough, or do you need anything else? You got any more questions? I'm not rushing you guys off by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just going to start making me some dinner while we're chatting here. I just don't want to.
No, man. That's what I was going to ask you. I mean, is there any last words you have? Is there anything you want to get out there to the fans? I mean, we're here for you, man. We're here to support what you're doing, to get the word out to people so they listen. I greatly appreciate the love and support through the years, of course, without saying. Appreciate the patience with getting some new material out. We've had some internal issues that always seem to plague bands, and just, hang tight, man. The fifth is still going strong. I'm going to be continuing on to make music in some way, shape, form, or fashion until they have to, wheel my old ass off the stage in a hover round. I don't know, man. I'm going to keep doing it, man. So that's great. That's great to hear. I'm going to make sure that we get the word out for you. We'll get the new song out there, the new video. Let everybody hear it.
Well, thanks, guys, and just let me know when everything gets put out, and I'll of course put it on the band's social media sites and everything to promote your page and everything, and promote the interview. So I appreciate it very much, and if you guys want to do this again in a couple of months, you just let me know.
Well, you got it, and thanks for your time, Roy. I mean, we really appreciate it. We're big fans. We're always going to be fans, and like I like to tell all the guys, we appreciate what you did. For us. I mean, being able to grow up in that time and listen to this great music, it's part of our lives, and it's a part that we cherish. I mean, we really do. I look back on it, and I thank God that's the music that I have. That's mine, and that's every fan that listens to it. It's a part of our lives. It's a big thing for us.
Well, it was my pleasure to play a part in it and, dodge the likelihoods of venereal disease and punishing my liver the way that I did through the years. It was my pleasure to be your spear.
That's it.
Announce your rock and roll journey.
That's it.
My music.
Classic.